Hello and welcome back. I'm Joseph Hoffman. Today we're learning how to play a famous melody by one of the great composers of all time, Johann Sebastian Bach. Americans usually just say Bach for his name, but if you want to sound scholarly, you'll pronounce his name the German way. He was German after all, which is Bach. Kind of like ba and then a choking sound. Bach. Try it. Hours of fun. Bach was truly one of a kind. He had 20 children. Yes, 20. That alone, it would seem, could keep a man quite busy. But on top of keeping track of 20 kids, Bach was responsible for the weekly Sunday music at 4 different churches in Leipzig. On any given week, back in the good old 1730s, you would have also seen Bach preparing the sheet music, rehearsing the church orchestra, soloists, and choir, teaching a few music lessons along the way, performing on Sunday, and then starting the routine all over again. Right now, we're listening to Bach's cantata Wachet auf. This cantata tells through singing the parable of the 10 virgins from the New Testament. As incredibly busy as Bach was, one thing I appreciate about him is that he still took time for his family. He was the primary music teacher for several of his children, many who went on to become famous composers themselves. And for his second wife, Anna Magdalena, he prepared a special notebook of keyboard pieces for her to practice. You see, in Bach's day, there was no music store to walk to or a place online to download sheet music from. When you did piano lessons, your teacher would usually write out your pieces for you by hand. Now, I'm sure Anna Magdalena appreciated this act of service from her husband then, but we really appreciate it now because the Anna Magdalena Bach notebook is a treasure of dozens of great pieces for the piano. And the piece we're learning today is one of them. And it's what we're listening to right now, Musette in D major. Let's take a look at the rhythm of Musette, and we'll start learning it. All right, let's see if you can help me dictate the rhythm to the first phrase of Musette. I'll do the first 4 beats. See if you can figure out what the rhythm words would be. Ba, 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 ba. Can you turn that into rhythm words? Try saying it. If you said, ta, ticky, ticky, ta, ticky, ticky, you're correct. Let's try saying it together and point to each beat. Go. Ta, ticky, ticky, ta, ticky, ticky. Now, let's take a look at the second line. We have ticky, ti, 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 ti. I'm not sure if we've seen a ticky, ti before. I know we've had T ticky, but this one is a ticky T. So you see 2 16th notes. This extra beam right here makes these 2 notes go twice as fast. These 2 are 16th notes and they're connected to 1/8 note. Ticky T. Let's try to say it 3 times. Go. Ticky T, ticky T, ticky T. Let's try saying line 2 together. Go. Ticky T, 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 T. Now let's speak all of the rhythm together from the beginning. Point to each beat and say it. Ta, ticky, ticky, ta, ticky, 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 ti, 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 ti. Great. Let's come to the piano and try to learn it. Today we're going to be learning a slightly simplified version of Musette in D major. So to get started, let's take a look at the first note. Can you tell me the letter name? If you said A, you're correct. The number 5 up above tells us we'll need to put finger 5 on A. So we'll be in the D major pentascale. I know it's D major because of the key signature. It shows us that we'll have an F sharp as well as a C sharp. Now, with your hand in the D major pentascale, see if you can figure out how to play the first 2 measures. We already know the rhythm, and you know that the first note is A. See if you can figure out the rest. Press pause to try it on your own. Then press play when you're ready to hear me play it. Here are the first two measures. Now, if that's what it sounded like when you played it, let's keep going. Otherwise, you can press pause, try it a few more times on your own. Now let's look at the next two measures. We have this ticky T here. Starts on F sharp, and we step up. And then you'll notice on the last note of this ticky T, we have a staccato. Ticky T. And then we're stepping down, T, T. So let's practice that measure once. Ticky T, T, T. Now you try. Good. Now looking at the next measure, what interval do you see? That's right. It's the interval of a fourth. We go from E up to A, and there's a slur mark which tells us to make it legato, and then the second one's a staccato. So we have T, T. Now you try. T, T. One more time. And then it skips down to F sharp and then D. So putting that all together, we have T, 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 T. One legato slur and then three staccatos. T, 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 T. Now you try. Now starting at measure 3, putting measures 3 and 4 together, it sounds like this. Ticky T, 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 T. Now press pause and practice that 5 times on your own, or until you feel confident, then press play to go on. All right, now let's try to put all of line 1 together. It's going to sound like this. Now press pause and on your own, try to put it all together on line 1. Press play when you're ready to go on to line 2. All right, taking a look at line 2, what do you notice? That's right, it's almost identical to line 1. Can you find anywhere that's different? If you said the ending, you're correct. Let's look at the very last measure. Instead of T, 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 like we had on line 1, this time it goes T, T, Ta, Re, So, Do. Let's practice that once. Now you try. Good, so all of line 2 together will sound like this. Now press pause and try playing the whole thing. Then when you're ready to try playing along with me or hear me play it, you can press play to go on. All right, let's try playing the whole thing together. If you'd rather just listen, that's fine. Or if you're ready to try playing with me, that's great too. You'll notice that our tempo indication is allegro. Since we're just learning it, we may not go all the way up to allegro, but let's give it a shot. Also, I'll be playing the left hand part too. Today, you're just focusing on the right hand, and we'll learn how to add the left hand in the next lesson. But to make it sound more interesting, I'll go ahead and do both. Here we go. I'll count in, this one's in 2/4 times, so I'll just count 1, 2, and then we'll start on the next beat. Here we go. 1, 2. Repeat sign. Nice work learning to play the right hand of Musette by J.S. Bach. Practice it until you feel 100% confident, and then we'll learn to play it with the left hand. Thanks for watching, and see you next time. Hey, Princess, do you know what Johann Sebastian Bach's favorite gymnastics move was? No, what? The Bach flip.